looks like we've got a good number of folks in. So yeah, Mike, if you want to go ahead and get us started.
All right, yeah. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for really what's going to be the conclusion of Run on Less Messy Middle boot camp. Wow, it's been a fast couple of months. I remember us thinking through, well, wow, that boot camp's going to take, what, I don't know, Rachel, 2.5, 3 months, and it's going to feel like a long slog. But here we go, we're done, and we're going to share some numbers about the boot camp here in a minute. But before we get any further, I want to introduce Josh Fisher, longtime friend of mine, and we're going to do this together today. So, Josh, thanks for taking the time and joining NACFE and the boot camp and Run on Less and all of our audience. Tell everybody a little about yourself. You're probably well known with everybody, but introduce us a little bit to yourself, Josh.
Thanks, Mike. Longtime NACFE fan. I'm editor-in-chief of Fleet Owner Magazine, of which Mike is a regular and valued contributor for us with a weekly blog. His next one will be appearing tomorrow on fleetowner.com, as it does every Wednesday. And a great archive of stuff to look through. And I'm just really pleased to be here and ready to get a little messy with you guys. NACFE is such a valuable resource within this industry, not only helping us cover this interesting times that we live in, but also just helping fleets, really, which is our goal at Fleet Owner, is to help fleets perform better. And I know that NACFE's goal is to also help the industry find better ways to be efficient and to really drive us into the future. So thanks for having me here today. It's great to be with you and Rachel.
Yeah, so Josh, right off the bat, I mean, we coined the messy middle maybe 5 years ago, and then it became, like bigger, I would say, in the last year with some of these a lot of these technologies. There's nothing like something new thing. There's nothing like a new thing awakening the current thing. So, I don't know if electric trucks and hydrogen have caused, diesel trucks to be more efficient. I do believe it's opened up the door for biodiesel, renewable diesel, and maybe natural gas again. But some days it feels like we're getting messier. Our goal with Run on Less Messy Middle is to bring some clarity to the mess. From your chair, Josh, before we dive in, are we getting messier, or are we getting some clarity on all these things?
I think it's a good messier would be how I would put it. Going back a few years, even if you go back to the original Run on Less, which I know was just diesel focused, and how you were able to find that if drivers operated in a certain way and were able to adapt certain, like aerodynamics and other sorts of, efficiency saving or efficiency creating technology, that it's possible to get close to that 10 mpg.
Yeah.
And it really kind of changed how all of us in the industry looked at what was possible out there. And then fast forward now, 7-8 years later, and with another this really exciting messy middle Run on Less that's starting. I think that we looked at, of course, we all thought a few years ago that maybe we thought it was hopeful that electric trucks were going to be a solution, an easy turnkey almost solution. And then everything piled up with that, whether it was infrastructure or just procuring the equipment, made that into something that wasn't going to be as easy as possible. So I think it's been great that we've kind of almost are now looking back at all these other different alternative fuels that are available out there, and how they might work for the right application. So I think it's a good messy in that fleets can now look at things and say, hey, I have more than one option out here to drive myself, my fleet, and my company into a more efficient future. It's not going to be easy, but it's nice to know that, what, I think a lot of them were looking at things, particularly at EVs, and looking at a potential EV mandate, or that was the only option, and there was no way that was going to work for a lot of Class 8 tractor operators. So that's why I think it's a good messy, Mike.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just one technology per fleet. Spoiler alert: Kim and I were at Topeka, Kansas, with Frito-Lay They had electric trucks and yard tractors. They had a bunch of natural gas trucks. They had 100% biodiesel trucks, and they had all of their trucks were highly efficient. So they, at one location for one fleet, they had like everything we're talking about here at the Messy Middle. All right, Rachel, how's the next little bit of time going to go? How's this boot camp going to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys for kicking us off, and thanks everybody for joining us today. What we're going to do, so as you can see, we're using Mentimeter again. If you joined us for our session 2 workshop, you are familiar with the Mentimeter tool. I encourage everybody to join. The instructions to join are at the top here. Go to menti.com, use this code to participate. Now, I will say that that you will need to progress through the slide portions of these to be able to participate in the questions themselves. If it's giving you any issues, you can refresh, rejoin, click through. The questions should not be mandatory. If you're having any issues, feel free to put a note in the chat here. But so we'll do a couple of questions here at the beginning. Then we will move to a section with myself and Rick Mihalik on the NACFE team talking about our top 10 Run on Less Messy Middle Bootcamp moments, which, like Mike said, Mike, I think you've been quoting the 2.5, 3 months. I think it's more like 5. I think we are 5 months away from the first session that we did back in February. So this has been quite an undertaking. It's been very fun with everybody. So Rick and I are going to do our best to try to synthesize these top moments, these top 10 moments together. Then we will turn it over to you, and we have Kim Ehrenhaft on our team who's been at all of these site visits, talk about the experiences, talking with the folks on the ground. Then we'll transition into a section called the audience download. This will be another interactive section in this as well, so you'll definitely want to make sure that you have Mentimeter up for that. We'll do a quick Q&A if there are any outstanding questions that we don't get to, and then we'll be good to wrap up after that. So with that, I will progress to our next one. Yeah.
We're gonna end this in by 2:30 Eastern time. So this will be
Yes.
90 minutes, not 2 hours. So plan on that.
Yep, absolutely.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, I was going to say, so our very first question today, which it looks like some folks are already answering, which is great. What are the topics that you would like to cover today? So we'll see as these are coming through, and Mike and Josh, if you guys have any reactions to some of the answers that we're getting. Yeah.
No, it's always funny, Josh. I look at these things and it's like, well, yeah, I want that answer too, and I want that answer too, and I want that answer too. And it's like, I'm glad everybody has high expectations, but boy, it's challenging.
It is, and I'm kind of wondering, that looking at that first question, what are the main issues slowing down transportation decarbonization? I would almost turn that over the other way and say, what are the things that are speeding it up? It feels like, maybe we're not where we thought we were going to be 15 years ago right now, but I've seen a lot of progress just in looking at, how far hydrogen, well, it hasn't become this, golden key that maybe people hoped a few years ago it was going to be yet, but there are more options. There are more ways for fleets to decarbonize right now than there were 10 years ago.
Yeah. And so the term decarbonization is interesting because that's like, less carbon. Less carbon means less fuel. Of course, if you can get to zero fuel, then that's like zero carbon at the tailpipe. But there are near zero solutions that we've talked a lot about in the boot camp, and we've seen at the visits that can really make a difference. And then finally, like if I say this all the time, if a fleet goes from 7 to 7.2 mile per gallon, they are burning 0.2 over 7 less gallons to move the same freight if their business is stable and consistent, and that's decarbonization too. That's burning less fuel. So it's a wide big topic. Yeah.
It really is. So I guess I would ask you, like, TCO, it's simple right there, but that is what it comes down to. Every fleet manager, every fleet owner, every private fleet operator, it's all about what's this going to cost me, and how is it going to help me be profitable or if you're a private fleet, be a good steward of your company's, time and resources. What have you been learning about TCO through these
So,
boot camps and
well,
these
yeah.
focus?
So a couple things. One, last month I celebrated 40 years in the trucking industry. I know I don't look that old, hopefully, but and there's two main reasons I stayed in this business for 40 years. One was we play well together, so there's a collaboration amongst suppliers, manufacturers, and I'm so excited about the future because it's going to take one hell of a lot of collaboration to make this stuff work, and we're starting to see that in these site visits where we show up and there's a charging company there and there's finance people there and there's dealership people there. I mean, we know it takes. So the collaboration's one. And the second is TCO. I just love the fact that this industry demands financial calculations on decisions. And that's the way we make decisions. And that's how we protect all of us from rising logistics costs when we buy a loaf of bread or a pair of jeans.
Mm-hmm.
So now TCO is really challenging for something new. The TCO calculation today might be very different in the future. And so we sort of see battery electric trucks that way, where we see them improving significantly as we move forward. So the TCO might get better. There's also these hard to monetize risks and costs of technologies and some benefits. We've seen some real, somebody's already said, what do drivers think? Drivers love battery electric trucks. And I can't express that more. We've talked to now 60 drivers in our last three run on lesses, and they all love them. Some are just avoiding retirement because they love driving the truck and they wouldn't go back in a diesel if they were asked to. So those are sort of difficult to monetize TCO, but yeah, it's a great list, Rachel.
Awesome.
Probably ought to
Yeah.
move on, but thanks everybody.
Yeah, definitely. No, this is fantastic. I can say for certain we will be covering some of this stuff today. For others, we have referenced them in our boot camps, so we'll be able to show a screen grab of all of our boot camps here in a moment. But I would like to move on to I don't want to kick you, Mike, and Josh to the curb, but I like to bring Rick on screen here to this conversation because I'd like to get us started with kind of our top 10 boot camp moments. So Rick, if you wouldn't mind joining me here, we can talk through some boot camp learnings. Alrighty. So the next question that we have for everybody is, what was the most surprising thing that you learned during Run on Less Messy Middle Bootcamp? It looks like we've got a couple of responses already. And just a reminder, if you did not submit a response to the last question, press submit. You'll be prompted to skip ahead. Even though you don't have anything in the text box, that's no problem, but just want to make sure that everybody's able to keep up with the slides here. So before we get started into our top 10, Rick, any reactions to what we're seeing pop up so far?
Yeah, Rachel, thank you. It's, 5 months of doing this is drinking from a fire hose on all this information in the messy middle. So I would hope that the audience had a number of surprises in what we presented. I like to think that what's great is that we're showing that progress is being made across the board on all these different alternatives, both the infrastructure and the vehicles.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I appreciate whoever submitted this. Smart people are helping. Yeah, absolutely. I think, this is not just a technical demonstration, but it is also a people demonstration. I think that we're seeing that very much through the experts who so graciously gave us their time in our presentations. And we'll be able to see this as well with the fleet profiles that will be released as well. So if you guys have answers to this, keep putting stuff in here. I am going to skip ahead to the next slide here. And again, in order to move along with the presentation, if you don't have an answer to this, click submit. You'll be prompted to skip ahead, even though you don't have a response here. But One thing I just want to highlight, I'd really like to give the NACFE team a pat on the back for this, and to toot our own truck horn for a moment too, because I think that this is very, very impressive. I think we've done several boot camps in the past. We continue to have awesome audience engagement. So we just have a couple of statistics here that I'd like to highlight. We had 35 folks who, like I said, just graciously gave us their time, shared their expertise. We had approximately 800 registrants per session. That's on average. Sometimes we had more, sometimes we had less. It was fantastic. Our speakers were also very generous in providing us with resources. So if you go back to runonless.com, click into the bootcamp section, under each bootcamp tile, you'll be able to click in, see the resources that the speakers provided to us. We have 57 total, which I think was great. We also had a ton of folks participate in the quizzes too, so thanks for participating in those. We had a really engaged audience. We had about 150 questions, so great job to the NACFE team. Also great job to attendees. Thanks for sticking with us these past couple of months here.
Rachel, I'd also like to thank
yeah.
the sponsors. We couldn't have done all this without
Yes.
some great sponsors. We had 9 just tremendous helpful sponsors. ExxonMobil, Clean Energy, Hexagon Agility, EDF, Prologis, Terawatt, Cummins, Shell, and Hydrofleet. So thank you to all those.
Yes, absolutely. And I would also be incredibly remiss if I did not thank our very gracious hosts as well, Act News, for helping us put this together. They've done all of the technical heavy lifting for us, all of the support, getting folks comfortable with GoTo. So thank you to Act News specifically. Thank you, Stefan. I know that you're in the background here for helping get the word out about this, spreading the word. This has been a very, very fun time together. So with that, I'd like to transition into kind of our top 10 moments from the bootcamp here. And if you guys have questions, feel free to use the Q&A controls in the upper right-hand corner. We will have time for Q&A at the end today. But the first one that I'd like to bring up is I think that what was very interesting, and Rick and you and I talked about this a little bit, is we have been able to see the commercial viability, how competitive these technologies are for multiple market segments. Fleets really do have the freedom of decision when it comes to these technologies for long haul specifically. And I think that was a huge takeaway from this for us.
Yeah, I've been in this industry quite a long time, and Mike and I can both reflect on fleets and manufacturers love choice. They don't like being told to do something. They like to reach their own conclusions. And what I saw out of this bootcamp series and Run on Less is that there is a lot of choice. The market's out there. Trucks are in production. Infrastructure is being put in place across the board in all states. Even Alaska and Hawaii are seeing deployments of both infrastructure and trucks. So very very much a free market condition with a lot of choice.
Definitely. Moving on to our second of our top 10 here, I think that when I was listening back to our recordings, when I was listening through, and I was kind of reflecting on the presentations that we had, I think that one of the things that was pretty surprising was the discussion around regulation and it impacting the industry. Of course, it was impacting the industry, but not necessarily in a way that I think we expected it. I think that while certainly there is a level of uncertainty around anything that is considered clean or environmental or green, and with our current administration, I think that regulation is still driving tech innovation and changes. We heard from Jeff Seeger actually on our team. He was our very first presenter for our very first session, the diesel drop-in alternatives, ultra-low sulfur, bio, and renewable. And he talked about EPA 27. But I think that the regulation discussion, it was happening, it was at the top of everybody's mind, but it wasn't in the way that I think we had originally anticipated.
Yeah, all these technologies needed some help to take baby steps to get off the ground. But I think what you're finding is that those baby steps are behind them, and all these technologies really are learning to walk now. And the role of regulations and a lot of the grants and incentives uh, is lessening, and you're going to see uh, all these alternatives have to compete on the same scale,
Hmm.
and that's going to make them more successful in the long run because they're going to have to get cheaper, they're going to have to get lighter, they're going to have to get better deployed
Hmm.
and be competitive.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we had quite a few folks, quite a few NACFE folks go to the ACT Expo. Like I hope everybody who is attending today was able to go. Some fascinating and fabulous conversation and just knowledge sharing going on at that conference this year. But there's a comment that I heard, which I thought was very interesting. And I can't attribute this to anybody specifically because I think I heard it in passing. But somebody had mentioned, regardless of incentives, regardless of current regulations, it does not take away all of the industry investment that has gone into BEVs specifically, right? And so I think exactly like you said, Rick, we've now reached this kind of critical mass where the technologies are continuing. They're working into developing their competitive advantages. And exactly like you said, while regulations certainly were helping give a platform, I think that a lot of them are able to kind of move through and yeah, I guess that's kind of where things are right now.
Yeah, emissions reduction was a big driver for all these different alternatives. But what I found in a lot of the interviews when I was out in the field on Run on Less is that many of these companies are finding that it's a competitive advantage. They're finding, cost reductions in using these new technologies, and that's what the marketplace really wants.
Hmm.
Um, they all have, emissions reduction goals, but in the end, these are all businesses, and they have to be successful
Hmm.
financially as well,
Yeah,
and that's happening.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So my third of our top 10 here, and this is kind of before we break into the specific technology segments. I wanted to give spot number 3 to a specific presentation we had. It was during session 3. It was the future. It was during the future prices and availability of existing infrastructure. What's next? We had a presentation from Nick Pavlenko, who is the program director for fuels and aviation from ICCT, and he was talking about the process behind life cycle emissions analysis as well. So I thought that was interesting. I was going back and reviewing his slides. He talks about not just looking at tailpipe emissions, but he brings up land use as a specific upstream impact of zero tailpipe emission fuels. He talks about potential efficiency losses for hydrogen derivatives. So I think it was a really interesting kind of technological scientific download into when we talk about emissions, we're not just talking tailpipe all the time.
Yeah, it's critical that we look at all these things using the same tape measure. It's
Mhm.
quite often the case that somebody will itemize one aspect of something and not compare it fairly to the other alternatives.
Mhm.
And when you look at the total cost of ownership, or you look at you know, the the work that Nick was showing with life cycle, you have to look at the entire spectrum of the topic and compare everybody with the same scale.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, for the folks that are on this call today who are not able to join us for session 3, the recording is on the website. The quiz is also available if you'd like to take it, but the recording is there. I highly recommend, if you don't have time to watch the recording, definitely look at the slides. I think that presentation was really fascinating. So, moving into moment 4, I want to kind of crack into the biodiesel or the biofuel space. We broke the boot camp up into 3 units. We had diesel, natural gas, we had BEVs, we had hydrogen. Obviously, we had quite a few things happen in each of those units. But I want to talk about our first unit here first. So the first note, Rick, you and I had a conversation about this. Talking about the 15-liter natural gas engine. Cummins presented on this in session 2, which was decarbonizing with natural gas. Their presenter was Dave King, who is the product manager for on-highway natural gas engine portfolio, and I think he did a great job. He's got a slide in there talking about the engine. That was great.
Yeah, it was a good coincidence that Run on Less, Messy Middle coincided with the launch of the 15-liter natural gas engine from Cummins. Uh, it, we we kind of think of Cummins as a diesel producer, but we actually had 3 speakers from Cummins in the different sessions that we had over the 5 months, and they have a play in every one of the fuel types and every one of the powertrains. So it's really nice that they've got that depth of experience and kind of a broad perspective on everything. But David presented what a tremendous step forward the 15-liter natural gas engine is. Natural gas finally has a engine that's powerful enough to compete directly with the 15-liter diesels and provide the same sort of performance, hill climbing, and load carrying capability and range capability. In 2010, when the 12 liters came out, they were somewhat underpowered in comparison to the diesels that they were going up against, and it kind of stunted the marketplace. And so now we got a 15-liter out there in natural gas, and it's taking off. It's going to help natural gas tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that same vein, actually in the same session, my next one, number 5 here, I was very impressed and I really enjoyed the stats that came out of that session, specifically about the continued growth of the biofuel industry. So during that session, Matt Tomich, who is the president of Energy Division, he gave us a couple of great statistics in his presentation about the number of RNG facilities that are either operational, under construction, or currently planned. That's at 900 right now. He also mentioned that the growth of RNG projects has been pretty significant, starting at just under 60 in 2017. Right now, they are over 350 and with 200 more planned. So I think those statistics about just the continued growth and the fleets that were participating in that session as well. We had Dan Depler, who's the VP of maintenance over at Paper Transport. Marty Tufte was on, who's the corporate fleet director at Waste Management, about their successful use. I thought it was a great conversation.
Yeah, the growth in the industry that's producing renewable natural gas is huge, but all these alternatives, you really need to put in perspective that 98% of freight operations in the United States are still running on diesel. And so all of these alternatives, natural gas, renewable diesel, electric, they've all got their toe in the water. But they've got nothing but opportunity to expand significantly, and the RNG marketplace, doubling in the next few years from 400 to 800 facilities is still just a toe in the water. There's a lot of room to grow there.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving from Unit 1 to Unit 2, talking about battery electric vehicles, one of the things, and this is something that you had said for number 6 here, is that for battery electric vehicles in the long haul space specifically, it is no longer a matter of if anymore, it is a matter of when. And I think that that paired with the comment that I heard that I mentioned earlier at ACT was great. I think we've kind of gotten over this hill. It's no longer a matter of if anymore. It is a matter of just when.
Yeah, I'd love that to be my comment, but I actually got that from one of the fleets when I was interviewing in California recently for
Mm,
Run on Less. The reality is that we're no longer talking about paper projects or some 2017 vision by some rich guy, right? We're talking about real trucks being produced by all the traditional manufacturers,
mhm,
and on top of that, you have a bunch of new entrants to the market. You've got Hyundai, you've got uh, companies like Tesla, you've got Windrose, you've got all these new entrants to a
mhm,
marketplace that was pretty static for 40 years.
mhm,
So in addition to that, you have infrastructure providers that are jumping in. So you've got, Terawatt and
mhm,
Greenlane and Forum Mobility. Tesla again is building out charging facilities. You've got Zeem in the Northwest that's put in charging facilities. It's no longer theoretical.
mhm.
These things are really happening. The investment is being made and progress is being seen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Which I guess, then leads really nicely into number 7. Just another note about the battery electric vehicles. And this was, and again, something that you said, it's very, very entertaining from my perspective, is that there is a very distinct lack of the chicken and egg metaphor that I feel like has been circulating for years and years. And I think that in our boot camp, we successfully avoided that metaphor until the last session of the hydrogen unit. So that wasn't brought up at all. Even in the session 3, charging depots, networks, and the economics of fleet electrification, which I would highly encourage folks to go back and watch. We had awesome speakers there. Specifically, we had Amelia Sibley from Terawatt. We had Alan Nielsen from Greenlane. Terawatt is one of the sponsors for Run on Less and Greenlane. So this session happened very shortly after the ribbon cutting at their new facility in Colton, which was great.
Yeah, the chicken and egg metaphor has been around forever, and it's actually gotten in the way of discussing real progress. I
Hmm.
was really pleased that at ACT Expo, I only heard it once in the entire time I was there that week. I only heard one reference to it. Um, Philosophers can talk about chickens and eggs, but we're at
Hmm.
the point now where there's enough chickens and enough eggs out there that it's irrelevant to the discussion. And
Hmm.
I'm really pleased that we've moved past that point and we're now talking about what's viable today for me. Which trucks can I buy today? What infrastructure is there today for me? And whether you're a big fleet or a small fleet, you can get into these games now.
Hmm.
I was really pleased with that progress that, even small fleets can buy an electric truck now in under a month and they can use, Green Lane or Terawatt or one of these facilities and go charge,
Hmm.
right? So they don't have to get into the 5 years of waiting for the utility to put transmission into their facility. They can buy a truck next week. They can lease a truck next week and start running.
Hmm. Yeah, and you had mentioned too earlier in this session here that it's we're not just seeing West Coast leadership in this anymore. This is happening across the country, which is great.
Yeah, one of the best presentations was from CalStart, and they do
Hmm.
this wonderful chart of where registrations of all these alternative fuel vehicles are happening in the United States, and they're tracking 54,000 vehicles as of earlier this year that have been deployed in all 50 states.
Hmm.
And that's class 2B through 8. But the thing is that it's not zero anymore.
Yeah.
These are numbers that are measurable now. You're getting into 1, 2, 3% numbers, and that means they're taking off. And if they double every year, that you're going to see some significant growth very quickly.
Yeah, so that is a good point. So the session is the battery electric vehicle session number 1, the current state of heavy duty BEV technologies and capabilities. CalStart, Trisha, who is the federal policy director, is our first presenter there. She presents and has a couple of resources linked out there, so I would highly recommend folks go and check that out. So number 8, in the interest of time here, number 8 is a point that I kind of want to make to kind of bridge the gap between our discussion of battery electric vehicles and our discussion about hydrogen. One thing that I want to highlight is kind of this change in narrative that we have seen as well. That you had mentioned that it is no longer electric versus hydrogen who's going to win out. We're now seeing the conversation is both of them together.
Yeah, we talk often about the traditional diesel truck as the Swiss Army knife. It can do everything. It doesn't do everything well, but it can do everything. We're moving into all these alternatives where they are tailor made for specific duty cycles.
Mm-hmm.
Purpose built is another way of describing them. And they are better at different things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really refreshing out of the Run on Less Bootcamp series. I was hearing that from the manufacturers, from the fleets, that they understand that their future is going to have multiple solutions. Mike
Mm-hmm.
referred to the fact that Pepsi has multiple solutions at one facility.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other fleets we talked to, they've all got different solutions going in for different duty cycles. They're
Mm-hmm.
finding the right truck for the right duty cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the future's going. It's a different game than it was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is great. So my final two, our final two kind of the biggest moments from our boot camp here are exactly in that vein there. We're talking about hydrogen. So I was very impressed during our third unit. I'm impressed about the continuation of hydrogen activity specifically from the support side. So like I had mentioned kind of at the outset of this, folks are obviously nervous about any sort of, clean fuel or technology because of the current administration. But when we're seeing the activities with the hydrogen hubs, we're seeing the activity around the 45V tax credits. There is still a lot of energy in this industry.
Yeah, the movement towards hydrogen has been going on for my entire life, and more recently it's gotten some government incentives, and then the government incentives became questionable.
Mhm,
Um, Companies are investing in this technology irrespective of all the noise that's going on in the political world.
mhm,
And it may get harder for some of these technologies to succeed. You may see some vehicle manufacturers that stumble, as we saw in this last year, but
mhm,
others are stepping in to take their place. So,
mhm,
you know, it's a technology that's nascent. It will evolve, and that somebody will make it work and make it marketably viable.
mhm.
Um, and it will have to compete and stand on its own 2 feet with the other competitors.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then I think that brings us here to the 10th, our top 10 moments, is still in the hydrogen discussion, the continuation of hydrogen innovation, exactly like we were just talking about, not just from the support side now, but looking at there's obviously still lots of outstanding questions. We heard from, I think it was during our last session, we're talking about gaseous fueling, we're talking about liquid fueling. There's still a lot of questions to be answered as this technology continues to mature, but it is still commercially viable. The infrastructure is being built, the technology is being developed, the fleets are interested, and I think that that's huge.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings with hydrogen is that hydrogen truck people are flying the plane while they're designing and building it. It is a rapidly evolving space where the fueling is being constantly researched and improved, and discussing whether it's gaseous or liquid. The trucks themselves are evolving very quickly. Uh,
Mhm,
Nothing's cast in concrete here, and we're going to have to let companies like Daimler and Hyundai really flex their muscles and see what's possible, and
mhm,
Air Liquide and these other companies that are providing infrastructure see what they can do to actually make this
mhm.
solution viable.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned those companies too, because I did want to point out their involvement in these sessions. So encourage folks to go check out, if you didn't watch the second hydrogen session or the third hydrogen session, moving hydrogen from here to there, distribution, storage of hydrogen fuel. We had a really good conversation. Charles Sanders from Air Liquide. We had Eugene Reyes from Shell. We had a great conversation about infrastructure. And then in session 3, we had Dr. Ben Happick from Hyundai was on, Derek Rotz. We had a couple of other folks on. Derek's from Daimler talking about Super Truck, and that was just a very fascinating conversation about the truck itself. So I think that brings us to the end of our 10. Is there anything else that you have to add before we hand the mic back over to Mike?
Other than the fact I greatly compliment you running these events. So thank you very much for making all this possible, Rachel.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's an easy job for somebody who likes to talk, so I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, I wanted to throw my thanks out to all the speakers, to you, Rachel, for running it. It was efficient, professional. We got through a lot of stuff in these 5 months, but yeah, well done. I don't know if Josh is still out there, but Josh, come on camera if you're out there. I think so. What I've got a big takeaway from the last 25 minutes or so, and from the boot camp. But Josh, you want to go first, or you rather me do it?
Let's hear from you first, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, so the what might be making this messy middle messier is that a lot of these things, if not all of them, are getting better fast. So I mentioned when we kicked this off that some of these new technologies may have awoken efficiency efforts and the biofuels, the diesel sort of renewable fuels. I think everything's getting better fast. There's a lot of investment. I think the reality is that no one solution is going to replace diesel. And if you are a producer of one of these solutions, you have to be real about what percent of the market your solution will probably end up being. So I think we have to be careful there. I could see, and that'll change over time, whether, years and decades into the future. But I do think, if you're thinking yours is going to win, if you're a natural gas or a renewable diesel or a battery electric, and you think you're going to get all of the Class 8 production for day cabs and sleeper tractors, I think that's foolish. You're going to have a percent of the market. But they're all getting better faster, which makes the confidence. It's like the Chinese restaurant, the bar and grill, the steakhouse and the fish house are all getting better in my neighborhood. And they got better chefs, they got better waitresses, they got better cooks. And it makes it harder and harder to figure out where I want to go to dinner, Josh. I mean, maybe that's a weird metaphor, but that's how it feels. Now we're still a long ways away from these things being, really cost competitive. We have battery electric prices issues, but we also have the blender tax credit incentive went away for renewable fuels, and that's been moved. But that's, some people say that's a cost challenge for even biodiesel, renewable diesel. So, they're all improving, but they all have challenges too.
Well, I mean, I think your restaurant metaphor is good too, because it makes you struggle. If every restaurant's getting better and you want to go to all of them, but you only have so much in your budget to go out, and how do you choose? Do you want to go to the steakhouse, or do you want to go to the Chinese restaurant, or do you want to go get sushi? And do you want to lean into BEV? Do you want to check out hydrogen? Do you want to go to biodiesels? But I think Rick put it well in talking about that chicken or the egg thing, which is certainly a phrase that I've leaned on in the past. But when he said that there are lots of chickens and lots of eggs out there right now, so it doesn't matter what came first. It's what you can use. And so I guess my question to you is: are you feeling there's been this kind of conventional thought that leaning into these these alt fuels, these different types of technologies is something for big fleets, for Fortune 500 companies with private fleets to go in? Is there more opportunities for the smaller fleets to get involved now?
Well, so I'm going to answer that. I'm going to have two answers for that question. I don't know if either one of them are good or direct, Josh. But the first one is I do believe that private fleets, intermodal, and dedicated will be the first place that a lot of these alternatives, these definitely battery electric and hydrogen, and maybe even some of the natural gas, and maybe even the fueling side. That's where these will happen first, primarily because of their return to base nature and their regional haul nature. It's just more predictable where the trucks are going to be, and that allows us to more appropriately put infrastructure in to fuel them or charge them. So a number of those private fleets or fleets that have major dedicated parts of their business, so like JB Hunt, and then like the Pepsis and the UPS and some others that return to base quite often, they're going to be the early adopters. Those tend to be big. They tend to have a lot of resources, but some of them are small. And so I think that's where the small fleets will benefit, or will look at these first as if they return to a base. And, fleet owner and, organizations like NPTC, are great places to meet and greet and understand that smaller fleet base that's in dedicated or private. The second answer would be that, if you are either turning your trucks quickly or have very irregular over the road routes, that doesn't map real well with where we're at in the next 5 years with some of these technologies. Now, natural gas and maybe the renewable diesels might have will have probably a better chance of having the fuel availability in places that can be there. But so then the spot market owner operator contractor model or parts of the business, as they get challenged with not having regular routes, and quite frankly then longer life, they're buying used trucks. Some of these alternatives will start to show up in the used truck market in a few years but a lot of the buyers of those technologies are going to keep them longer. So a lot of challenges there for small fleets. But we're also seeing, one of the fleets that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes is Navoya, and they're a startup, very small battery electric only fleet that is doing exactly what Rick's suggesting. They're finding chargers in Texas and California that exist today, and they're hauling freight in those areas. So they're using, where is the electric truck chargers available? Then they're going and looking for freight in those corridors versus having the freight in a corridor and figuring out how am I going to charge the truck. So,
but is that something that you think of? I don't want to say it's easier, because we know it's not easy, but to start up as a new company purely focused on finding that zero emission edge is different than a company that's been around for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I think trucking is changing, Josh. And so in some ways, those of us have been around it for a long time. If we are looking at if we're looking at new technologies to fit in the old freight movement and trucking world, we're probably wrong, because trucking's changing. There's a lot more regional haul. Day cab production keeps going up. Tom Moore says that, private fleet freight is up, like 6%, truckloads down 6% over the last few years. Is that a real thing? It's going to continue because of a change in freight. So I think we got to be a little careful there, but good points. Okay. Yeah. Good points.
All right. Go ahead, please.
Well, keep your thought. We got a little more time, so bring it back. Let's bring in Rachel. We're getting ready to move to this is sort of this boot camp session. This workshop is kind of a BC-AD thing. We're looking at the boot camp. That's the BC, actually boot camp. So that's the BC. I mean, that's where we the first phase of Run on Less. And now we're going to change our attention after we do a question. Probably we're going to change our attention to the fleet visits and profiles. But Rachel, what do we got here?
Yeah, absolutely. And Kim, if you'd like to hop on camera and join us here. So our first question to kick off the conversation around site visits, how many people do you think that the NACFE team has interviewed to date during the filming for the Run on Less Messy Middle fleet profiles? So you'll see on your screen, you've got options 0 to 100. feel free to enter your guess there. Remember as well, you will have to progress through the slides that were on previously. If your app is giving you an issue, or if your computer is giving you an issue, feel free to refresh, use the code to rejoin. You'll just have to click through the previous questions. If you don't have anything, press submit again to join us on this screen here. But yeah, feel free to keep guessing here. It looks like we've got a couple of somebody says 0. Somebody doesn't think that we've interviewed anybody.
Well, yeah, there's a few antagonists out there. They're just playing with us. Well, while that's showing up, Kim and I had the pleasure of visiting a lot of the fleets. So June has been a really active month. Up to right now, here on July 15th, we visited 11 of the 13 sites. Kim's been to 10, I think, or 9. I've been to 7 or 8. And then we've had in total, I think, 9 different NACFE or RMI people join us, as well as different video crews across the country. So it's been an amazing event. Basically, NACFE has 5 to 6 or 7 people at each of these fleet locations. There's a teaser video that we show a lot of the action that we did. It's a short 1-minute video, but it was, it's been a lot of fun. We've learned so much, and now the big challenge is how do we create profiles, which will be web pages and videos to help all of you see and what we think we've seen when we're out there talking to people. So the answer to this question is 94 so far. So I don't know if we have any winners there, Rachel, but 94 is the answer. And the team, Jeff and Ken, are with a video crew in Edmonton right now doing placement, and they're interviewing 5 or 6, 7 people. And then Mike McCorson, I'll be at El Paso with Mesilla Valley a week from tomorrow, and that'll be the last of the 13. So Kim and I are going to fast take you through a journey of June. I don't know, Kim, there's probably some, let's be careful we don't share you and I getting lost a few times, or having to go to a store for safety vests or shoes. But right. Let's launch into this. The first visit was the Wegmans. I wasn't there, but what I was excited here is this is that new 15-liter Cummins engine in a Peterbilt truck, if I remember right. They have both Kenworth and Peterbilt they're bringing in, they are promising during the run to be hauling double 53 trailers, double 53-foot trailers with a natural gas truck. So power and torque, and we'll be looking at the fuel efficiency, comparing that to other trucks, but we'll also be looking at what if they had 2 tractors and 2 drivers, each pulling a trailer, and comparing that to the operational characteristics of, 1 tractor pulling doubles. So, Kim, what else would you share about the Wegmans visit up in New York?
So, adding to your comment about the double 53s, they will be running those over a very hilly terrain. So they're very happy with the 15-liter engines. The 12 liters just couldn't make it with the doubles. Right now, they say 76% of their fleet is diesel free. They have 194 trucks in the fleet, and 150 of those are CNG. And they hope to be completely diesel free by the end of 2026.
Yeah, it's a progressive fleet, and they're moving fast. So let's go to the next one, Rachel. So after that, Dean and Kim and I, we visited Pilot we actually did this at a Pilot truck stop in Southern California in Rialto, where they're running a hydrogen fuel cell truck. This is a Hyundai Accent truck, and we had the driver, like we do at all of these locations, but we also had a Hyundai there and other people. This hydrogen tractor was pulling a hydrogen delivery trailer, and so you can see that when we post the profile pictures of that trailer, but they use that to deliver hydrogen to different locations and different sites. This was a real learning experience for me. with hydrogen. I've said, and we've reported that there's a lot of complexities around the hydrogen fuel as well as the hydrogen truck and so forth. But those tanks that you see there and the door being open were. I was very impressed with the attention to safety, the attention to crash worthiness, and et cetera, et cetera. And this truck's a real production truck. I've been around truck manufacturing and engineering my whole career, and I was impressed with how this truck looked, and to figure out then how efficient and uptime and so forth it'll be. So yeah, good visit, a lot of fun there. Kim, anything?
You kind of summed it up pretty well.
Yeah. It was. I like this visit though because lunch was readily available at that convenience store behind.
Yeah.
All right, Rachel. So yeah, next we went to Saya, and they're operating 2 Teslas. Where was this, Kim?
This was in Stockton.
Yeah, this was in Stockton. So this was up Northern California, and they charged these 2 trucks at a Tesla facility. Tesla's going to build the semis, and I think they're building the current ones in Reno, Nevada. They have, of course, Eastern Bay area where they build cars and batteries and a lot of things. So I think the charging facility really didn't add any outer route miles. The driver takes his car over there whenever he goes and picks up the truck. Sometimes these trucks are dual utilized. Saya is a ginormous LTL, regional haul, day cab, mostly, if not only. What else am I missing here, Kim?
But they're very excited about these trucks.
Yeah, they're really making them work. That's Dan, right? Dan Priestley. So Tesla talked about at length and on camera about their production plans, their charging infrastructure work, and et cetera. So yeah, I think this is a good example of Saya making this truck do really what they need, because it's a 400 to 500 mile range truck, depending on the payload and the conditions. One quick story I'm going to share here. The driver talked about there's 2 routes that they can take. There's Highway 99 and there's Highway 5 that get close to this Saya place, and he can take them both for some of the deliveries. And he talked about how he could get better range, better efficiency on one versus the other. And I'm like, why and how? And he said one's tucked up closer to the mountains and they have a lot of side winds. I don't remember whether the one tucked up along the mountain helped or hurt, but he was so intent on understanding how to drive the truck and the conditions for good fuel economy, or I should just say energy economy or electricity economy or something. But he was so into it that he could tell the difference between, what route he was on, which I thought was just incredible. We just had a situation with diesel where, we didn't pay attention as much because we didn't worry about getting home. All right, next one. All right, a couple here in a row that I did not join. These are in Southern California. So this is 4Gen, Kim.
Yep.
Fleet leaning in quickly on battery electric.
Very quickly. They hope to be completely zero emissions in California by the end of 2025. And interestingly enough, on these Volvos that they're running, they're getting 450 to 470 mile range, which is pretty great. I think that's on 2 shifts. I don't have my notes for that for sure, but yeah, they're doing great with these, and they're very happy, and they can't wait till they're completely zero emissions.
Yeah, one thing that I don't know we will have in the video or not, but they were running some hydrogen fuel cell Nikola trucks, and they're in the process of taking those out of the fleet with the situation, and they are that means they're going to test the range of these battery electric trucks. So like Kim was talking about, so they do drayage in Southern California, but there's a myth that drayage is all short runs in and out of the ports, and they're going to show either in the run or they told us that many of their routes are really long distance. So next one, Kim, this will be for you too. I think this is Navoya. Yeah, and this was Green Lane facility. Yes. So walk us through this, Kim.
So as you mentioned earlier, Navoya is a startup company that started all electric, so they're not converting from anything. They just jumped right in and went to electric, and they're very passionate about being completely electric, and they want to keep doing that. Um, they use the Green Lane facility in Colton as their main charging facility, and I believe that they have a trailer, like a container on site to operate out of for the dispatcher and everything. And they're getting a range on one shift of about 180 to 225 miles on these trucks, these Freightliners.
Yeah, these are the E-Cascadias. I think they are bringing in other truck OEMs into the network as well. They've targeted, this Green Lane facility is in an interesting place because it's really on a intersection of interstates and corridors that go into Los Angeles, out to Phoenix, out to Las Vegas, and up the valley to Northern California. So to Rick's point earlier and a number of points we've been making, if you can get the freight in the locations where they have the infrastructure and charging opportunities, you can build from there. So I think that's what Navoya is really doing. And they're moving into Texas. They've got some electric trucks doing part of the Texas Triangle, I think Dallas to Houston. But this truck that we'll be tracking domiciles out of that location in Fulton. Next. Where'd we go next? Yeah. Oh, so Kim went to Salt Lake City. I was busy in Kenya for 1 week. If you're interested in what the hell Mike was doing in Kenya when the whole NACFE team was doing this, check out my fleet owner blog tomorrow. There's a plug, Josh, because I talk about what I was doing in Kenya on electric vehicles in my fleet owner blog tomorrow. So Kim.
So this facility in Salt Lake City, this UPS facility, is the fourth largest regional hub in the United States. It's about 1 million square feet. They have 400 package car slots inside the building, so they do a lot of traffic out of here. I want to say the biggest interesting thing that I found there was there's 65% natural gas on site. 100% of their package cars are natural gas. Their 25-yard tractors are natural gas. And currently they have 16 15 liters with more on the way. They have obviously some 12 liters, but the 15 liters are obviously performing better for them as well with the things they haul. So they're converting to 100% CNG here because they're in a depression area, right? There are mountains all around, so the emissions just kind of stick in there. So they're trying to do as much as they can to not be a contributor to that.
Yeah, the report from the team that was in Salt Lake made me think a little bit about natural gas and about a lot of these alternatives. So, we see natural gas as the best solution in longer haul, and local deliveries. We think electric is going to win. Here's a situation where UPS has decided to go natural gas instead of diesel on terminal tractors and their delivery vans. That one might think, well, why didn't they go electric? Well, that's a great question, I think. I had it when I heard it. But they made this decision because they were trying to stick with one fuel at the plant or the warehouse, use as much natural gas and also make the environmental improvement of gas. So interesting.
I think their choice, this will probably be in the profile video, but I think their choice had something to do with the mountain ranges all around them. You have to cross a mountain range to get wherever they're going, and electric wasn't really going to work for that.
Great point. Yeah, even with great point. All right, what's next? All right, here we went to Schneider in Phoenix, and this is Schneider has joined the run for basically looking at what they've done from an efficiency standpoint on the tractor and the trailer with respect to what they can get MPG wise, but they also do a lot of miles with this international S13 truck in California. So in California, they're able to procure, or just by the nature of the low carbon fuel standard, at the pumps that they visit, they buy most of their fuel from Pilot. At those Pilot pumps, they get renewable diesel, or a high percentage of the diesel they get is with renewable diesel in California. So this was a very busy location. I mean, it was one of those where, if you can imagine, we're setting up, you've seen them in some of these pictures, filming crews and everything. We were like, well, where are we going to put it? Because there's trucks running around, trailers running around, dropping hook. They got a maintenance shop. I can't, we've met an amazing group of drivers. This young lady, Latavia, I think she was a rock star. She just loves driving a truck. It's her second career after 24 years working in a bank or in multiple banks, even in management of local banks, and she just lights up when she talks about her life driving a truck. And then we got to talk to more of the management there at the Schneider facility about what they do there and how they do it. And look for some of those details in the video. Yeah, this is one where Kim got caught up in a what do they call those, whirlwinds?
Dust devil.
What is it? Dust devil. Dust devil. Yeah.
And the worst part about it was there's a landfill next door, so it was picking up things as it was coming toward us.
Yeah, so we had a Dorothy moment with Kim nearly in Phoenix. All right, yeah. Another thing I would mention. Go ahead to the next slide. But we had 2 days in Phoenix and one in Dallas that week, and 106 to 95, and it was very hot. We enjoyed it, but it was not for the faint of heart doing this out in the depots. Mike McCourse and Dave Schaller went to Detroit. This is Henry Albert. Many of you know Henry. He's in the run with a Freightliner. And what was interesting here, I thought, as I reviewed and heard from them, was that he's going to have in the run this 2022 model year Freightliner. Henry owns the tractor and the trailer as an owner-operator moving Freightliner components. He in Detroit here, he was picking up engines to take south to the Mexico Freightliner location. I think Henry takes it to Laredo, and then somehow the freight gets offloaded and onto a trailer to go into Mexico. They also had a Gen 5 Freightliner 2026 tractor there that might be destined for Henry. He's running one that he's comfortable with and understands, but the team at Freightliner also talked about what he would get in a new truck if he was going to get it. So it's going to be interesting to watch Henry's truck during the run. He does multiple routes, sometimes really heavy, sometimes really light. He's got lift axles on the tractor and on the trailer. So when he's hauling light, those lift off the ground and he becomes, he's no longer a 10-wheeler with he's only then at that point only has 2, 4, 6 tires on the ground because he runs wide base, I believe, across the board. So interesting fleet that's participating. He's an owner operator. He only has one truck in his fleet, but it'll be interesting to see what he does there. And then next. All right, so Kim and I were in Phoenix with Joyride Logistics. Kim, I'll let you describe what we saw at Joyride with the Windrose tractor, and then I'll probably pitch in a couple other thoughts before we can move on.
I want to say that they're a smaller fleet with, what was it, 100 trucks, Mike?
I think they were 260 or something like
they're
that.
Moving, yeah. They started with, anyway. So this driver was great. He was great personality, great stories about his journey, and he just loves driving this truck because they're committed to having their drivers home every other night. So they're out and back in a day and a half or so. This is the only truck they have on site right now, but they have more on order, or they've placed deposits for more coming. But they're using the Windrose tractor. I did not get to see the inside of it, but Mike, did you see the inside of the tractor?
Yeah, it's got a small sleeper in it. It's short. It's more of a cot than a bed, and there's not a lot of storage if you compare it to, sleepers of the current truck manufacturers. But it'll get the job done. I mean, it's just one night out, and then they're back home. At Joyride. They were just getting this Windrose. I mean, there's not a lot of Windrose trucks out there, but we spent a lot of time doing a walk around of the truck with some Windrose engineers and the production people that are setting up the manufacturing for the Windrose tractor. So it's kind of an all new truck for all of us. It is similar to the Tesla Semi in that they decided on a center driving position. And we asked fleets about and the truck drivers about that center driving position, and you'll see some of that probably in the pieces. But basically, they both decided that the best truck would have that center driving positions, better aerodynamics, and so forth. A great day. Anytime you see something new, I've already driven and been in all the trucks in the run except this one. So it was fun to be there that day and, kick tires, sit in the seat, driving around the parking lot, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'm excited to share with everybody what we learned there. Then, yeah, and then we were at Penske in Dallas. This was with a hydrogen fuel cell truck as well. I think, it was the same truck we had seen at Pilot. Here, the fueling of the truck is done on site with a hydrogen trailer. So that trailer either moves to a hydrogen place or a hydrogen truck, like what we saw from at Penske or at Pilot, will bring the hydrogen to the truck, and then they can fuel up to 8 or 10 times. They can fuel the hydrogen fuel cell truck on site. It's a big distribution center for Hyundai. This is kind of a circle of life here. We were at a Hyundai automotive parts distribution center with a Hyundai truck, a Hyundai trailer, because Hyundai makes a lot of trailers. I don't know what their market share in the U.S. is for trailers, but it's pretty high. So Hyundai truck, Hyundai trailer, operated by Penske Logistics, hauling Hyundai parts. So that's a mouthful, but they talked about how hard it was to make this Pilot work. I mean, just a lot of challenges around fuel availability and so forth. It is a cab over design, so it's a great learning experience for Kevin Otto. Kim and I were there, and we're looking forward to bringing the story to y'all during August. Next. So then, so we were at Frito-Lay in Topeka. Kim, you want to talk to this real quick, and then again, I'll add some things.
Sure, we were there to see their biodiesel truck, but we learned on site that they also have electric yard tractors and natural gas tractors as well. Electric yard tractors, I didn't say that. And so they're running a whole gamut of things there. They're very fuel efficiency conscious at Frito-Lay and Pepsi. So they like to try a bunch of different things to see what works best in which markets.
Yeah, 110 trucks out of this site, and they said it was the highest fuel use site, highest diesel fuel use, highest carbon location of all of PepsiCo, because they haul potato chips and snacks from the Canadian border all the way to the Texas border and good ways east and west. I think to the Rockies and to the Mississippi River. So they haul out of Topeka to a lot of places. This is a ginormous snack manufacturing location. So of the 112 trucks, only 10 continue to run on petroleum diesel. The rest are what Kim talked about, either natural gas, electric yard trucks, or these biodiesel solution where they can run 100% biodiesel. There was a question earlier about where do they get it. They are putting private fueling on site where 100% biodiesel will be delivered to the site. They'll then fill these trucks on site. They've been using some temporary fueling at the site. There is now a couple of pilots, one in Des Moines and one somewhere else, that you can buy biodiesel at the pump at a truck stop. A lot of truck stops get 100% biodiesel to their site because they use that to blend with petroleum, conventional diesel, to get the 5 to 20% blend that we see in almost all truck stops around the country. So we actually explored biodiesel more here at this site with some on-camera interviews. The head of the Kansas Biodiesel Association or Commission or something.
Soybean Commission.
Yeah, Commission. Yeah, he gave us a really interesting look at biodiesel. So this is where we had the most interviews.
Yes.
Took all day, and I think we did 14 interviews because they're adding a lot of efficiency. They have truck wings that flow below, a lot of efficiency technologies on these trucks to get high MPG while also burning biodiesel. Next. I think that might conclude the 11 that we've visited to date. So we got 2 more I mentioned there. Guys are with Clayson today. This is a sleeper natural gas truck in Canada. And then the last one that we'll be doing is in we'll be in El Paso for Mesilla Valley. So that's our update. It's been a lot of fun. We're now at a pretty big moment at NACFE. We're trying to, we heard all this. We've done all these interviews. We got downloads of everything everybody said that we're trying to now put into communication forms and in sensible storytelling and case studies kind of things and so forth for everybody to see what we think we learned here. So stay tuned. We'll publish a profile every other day throughout August, every other business day throughout August. So look for Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Either wake up with a cup of coffee or have an evening glass of wine, and on those days, watch the profile videos. Right, Kim and Rachel?
Absolutely.
You guys, yeah, that's the plan for me. So let's bring Josh back in. I know, Josh, you didn't join us on any of them, but these are all fleets that you probably know, or some of them. Any quick thoughts before we move back to Rachel on kind of what we said, or anything just like really shock you of at all?
I mean, I think you've done a great job of showing this messiness of where we're at with all these different technologies, all these different fuels, and all these different approaches by these fleets. I think that's really interesting way to look at it. I guess my question that comes out of this is compared to some of the other run on less events that you've done. How do you guys feel as this one begins, and what can you take from what you learned from the past to go
Yeah.
into this new middle messiness?
Well, something I would say here is by the nature of these fleets, they didn't do these projects because of NACFE or Run on Less. They were already doing these projects. So they either volunteered or they accepted our invitation to join the run and show off what they're doing. One of the things that I'm taking away is that they're making the best of these technologies because they either think they're in their future or they just want to learn about them. In some cases, they're not, even what they're doing still isn't good enough for mass adoption by these fleets. So, I hate to bring up an example, but we probably will talk more about that as we move forward. But you know, they are making this work. Sometimes I say these are smaller hammers trying to do a big hammer's job, or a smaller axe trying to chop bigger wood as you need a bigger axe. So they're making it work, Josh, but it's not at a place where it's either TCO acceptable or that it's an easy drop into their operation. So I suppose that's something where in the past runs, I mean, the two battery electric runs, maybe notwithstanding, but the first two of diesel in long haul and regional haul, 2017 and 19, that was more about, saving money, saving fuel, but the operations weren't. They were doing what the trucks needed to do. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. Again, stay tuned. This is like a commercial for the big event in August when we really show all of these. We'll probably have an average of 7 or 8 minute videos. We've talked when we're done. We already interviewed 94 people. When we're done with today and tomorrow, we'll be in the 115 range, maybe 110, 15 when we're done with these last two. So we got more to share and much more depth than we went into today. But thanks for listening. Turn it back over to you, Rachel.
Awesome. Alrighty, well, thank you folks for sticking with us here. We're gonna get into our kind of audience download section right now. So as a reminder, joining Menti, you can use the code up at the top if you were joined earlier and your session quit out on you. Rejoin, progress through to the questions here. You'll click skip ahead quite a few times, but we'll go ahead and get started with this question here. So, as Mike and Kim had talked about, the fleet profiles are going to be released next month. We're interested to hear what you are most excited to see from the fleet profiles. Go ahead and use 1 to 3 word answers, please, and we'll have a populated word cloud here as answers come in. And reminder as well, if Menti is giving you a hard time, feel free to send me a message in the Q&A controls, and I'll help you troubleshoot as well. But looks like we got a couple answers here, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's all interesting. And I think we know more about diesel, even though we're adding this bio and renewable diesel fit. We know a fair amount about natural gas, and we know something about battery, but hydrogen is going to continue to be of interest because it's the newest. I mean, maybe it's been around for 50 years, but it's sort of the newer one, and we've had some companies go bankrupt, and now that we're deploying some trucks. So I think it wouldn't surprise me on the hydrogen side. We will end up tracking the web page, and who watches. Well, we end up tracking how many people watch each video in the profiles and on the website. So down the road when we're done with all this, we'll know, and we'll probably share which of the different pieces of this were most popular with the audience as we go through the rush of August and September. I think use cases is really clear. I mean, I think if there's Denise and in particular, along with Rick, they've been reading the transcripts of every interview we've done. So can you imagine how much work that is? 100 plus interviews where we did 15 to 40-minute interviews. They're reading it all, and they were sharing with us in a call the other day that just like use cases was probably the most common thing that all 110 people talked about. Meaning, or 94 people, I guess, have talked about, because so I think it's really on their minds to make sure that the trucks can do the job of the routes. So that's particularly interesting in what we do at the profiles. So a few thoughts there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, feel free to continue adding thoughts in here, everybody. We're going to progress to the next slide here, which is another word cloud. And this one is specifically about the data dashboard. So this question is, what are you most curious about learning from the data dashboard? Same thought, word cloud, 1 to 3 word answers, please. And as you guys are wrapping up your answers to the last one, feel free to add some stuff in here. But the data dashboard during the actual run itself.
Yeah, I think I've always talked about the run. I mean, I remember all 5 runs. They're starting to become like my 5 babies or my 5 children that that grow up over time. But when I think about all 5, the data ends up being so important. I mean, we're streaming real data from these trucks. Some of it's real time, some of it updates nightly, but rarely do the public or the trucking industry get to see that kind of data. And to be very blunt, when we work with fleets, they'll say, well, we don't share that data. And then, there's a negotiation almost between NACFE and the fleets to say, hey, come on, this is one truck for 3 weeks. We're not giving away, Schneider or Penske, or, we're not giving away your secret sauce on how you route trucks and where you go fuel them and all that kind of thing, because it's only one truck for 18 days. So, but it's very insightful, very insightful. So I think from a data standpoint, be cautious. You're not assuming that all trucks are like these 13 trucks out of 1.7 million is the number that we usually say that are actively in long haul. So be careful that you don't extrapolate. On the other hand, this is real data. No BS. It's straight from the truck through Geotab to NACFE's special engineered dashboards, and you'll be able to see things like efficiency of a hydrogen truck or a battery truck or a diesel and natural gas trucks. Now, conditions matter. So some will be going over mountains, some will be hauling heavy loads, some will be different conditions that will affect the efficiency. So we'll share that as much as we can on the dashboard. But this dashboards are really looking to be very cool. I'm very excited about showing them to everybody in late August, and then the data will start populating on September 8th.
Well, and one of the things too that I would note, and specifically where it says the decision making, because like you said, this is a snapshot, of over this time period, and that this, the process for the run is not, all right, get the data and then forget about it. We do quite a bit of work doing the analysis, doing, and communicating that work and engaging with the fleets beyond and engaging with folks who are actively looking at the data dashboard. So, and exactly like you said, conditions matter. So I think that it's going to be interesting to, after the data collection process, really digging into the data, pulling out the conclusions, doing the analysis.
I get a kick. I like the fact that a couple people wrote reliability and uptime. I watched this data really closely in September, and there's been prior runs where one truck didn't run on one day, and it didn't run on a second day, and it didn't run on the third day, and I'm like, oh, okay, what the hell's going on, everybody? Is that truck, did it have an accident? Is it just down because of some problems? I mean, we all worry about this new technology and the trucks are going to be down. And in most cases, or like all the cases that we've had in all 5 runs or all 4 runs to date, it's been things like, well, the driver went on vacation and we didn't have time to, or we didn't get the truck reallocated to another driver. So sorry, we're down another day. That truck sat here, or that kind of nature. It wasn't due to uptime and reliability issues, but we'll be very interested in that. And if we see that, we're going to share that. Along with the truck manufacturer and the fleet, what's going on, because it could very well happen. I mean, stuff happens out on the road.
Yep. Yeah.
All right,
absolutely.
We kind of promised people we're going to be done at 2:30 or so let's get to the next one.
Yeah, so this one is a bit of an interesting one, folks. So if you'll follow along here, this is kind of a little matrix that we've set up. Want to hear from you guys. Do you feel like you are more knowledgeable after boot camp, and do you feel like things are considered messier or more clear? So we kind of developed this question because we realized that just because you know more does not mean that the web of information is necessarily untangled. So we want to hear from folks. You'll see on your screen there are 2 options. There are these 2 axes here to rate yourself. Do you feel like things are more clear? Do you feel like things are messier after boot camp? And then do you feel like you didn't quite learn as much as you thought you were going to, or that you're more knowledgeable? And as you submit your responses here, your dots are going to pop up on the screen, and this number 1 here is going to give us our average. So looks like we're moving toward more clear, not completely clear, but we're moving that way.
Yeah, I was really intrigued by this question, so congratulations, Rachel, and I think Kim and Denise had something to do with this. This is really interesting. Because I do, and this is the questions I asked Josh early in this effort was, I very well expect that many people will say that they are more knowledgeable, but they're not sure that that's helped them make decisions. Along this journey of messy middle, I brought up a Rumsfeld quote on terrorism. There's known knowns, there's known terrorists and we know where they are, they're known. And then there are, I think this is the context he used it in, and then there are known unknowns. We know there are bad guys here, but we don't know exactly where they are or this, that, and the other, or how they're going to do things or whatever. So there's known unknowns, and then there's unknown unknowns. There's the things that we don't know yet. So I think with respect to these technologies, and as we've gone through this journey over the last number of years of alternatives and heading future, there could yet be some unknowns that emerges with battery electric or hydrogen. I mean, we see, or even renewables. I mean, I see a pretty good disagreement out there as to how much feedstock is really available for some of these biofuels. So, how much used cooking oil is there? How much other feedstocks? There's soybean waste as they process soybeans, that that gentleman in Topeka told us. So there's some, but how much really is there out there that we could process regardless of cost? So I think there are some unknowns, and so maybe that would be a known unknown. How much feedstock is out there is the, we know that's a concern or an issue, but in reality, how does that limit us, or are there big opportunities? So anyway, I think that's, so we're seeing a cluster mostly in it's made it more clear, and I did learn something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we could set this up as a social media experiment too, to get more input, because I'm fascinated by this.
Definitely. So we'll move along to our last question here because I know we're about at time, but we've got another word cloud here. This question is, what needs to happen for the run to be considered successful to you? 1 to 3 word answers so we can get a good word cloud here. But we really put this this question together because we realized, how NACFE is going to define success around the run, but we want to hear how the audience is going to define success. So share your thoughts with us here. Feel free to, you can also send in multiple responses, so feel free to do that as well. And I'm watching the Q&A here in case Menti's given anybody any issues. Feel free to send me a message.
No BS. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well, we've recorded this, and thank you all for your participation. We'll be posting this sometime, and let people know what we chatted about here. We appreciate the efforts. I again thank everybody that's been a part of the Bootcamp series. This is, I think, the 3rd time or 4th time we've done a boot camp. This is by far the biggest and best one. So looking forward now to turn the page to the profiles and to the run itself. But this boot camp will stay alive in perpetuity. I mean, we don't have it. We won't. It'll be online forever. So if you think you learned something you want to share with other people in your networks, go ahead and do it. Back over to you, Rachel.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for sticking with us here. When I let you guys go, have another half an hour in your day. As Mike said, runonless.com, all of our content, all the information is going to be there. You can still take the quizzes. You can still watch the videos, review the slides. Thank you again to all of our sponsors for making this possible, our speakers and Act News for helping us set this up. This was fantastic. So thanks for spending every other Tuesday with us since February.
Yeah, thanks.
We made it through 3 seasons. So
yeah, finally, thanks, Josh, for joining us. That was really helpful. You always make me think, brother or friend. So good.
Well, you make me think too, and thank you guys all for all you do for the industry and all the information and keeping up with that no BS word cloud item. I like that.
Yeah, there we go. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye bye.